Hey everyone, welcome to the Broke Girl Rehab channel, where I share with you everything that I've learned about money while documenting my journey of getting out of debt and working towards financial freedom. Today, we're going to talk about emergency funds. We'll go over what they are, why you need them, and a few tips on how to start your own. So, ready to get started? Let's do this. All right. So the first point we're going to cover today is, what is an emergency fund? An emergency fund is a savings account that has at least 3 to 6 months worth of expenses reserved and is only used during a time of financial emergency. Now, according to a report released by Bankrate.com this year, 27% or 66 million Americans have absolutely no savings reserve, which means if something catastrophic happens, they either go into debt with a credit card or they're just completely screwed. Now, with this in mind, let's quickly go over 4 reasons why you need to build an emergency fund now. Reason number 1, an unexpected loss of income. If you or your spouse or your partner suddenly loses their job, an emergency fund will help offset the financial blowback that comes from a sudden loss of income. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, well, actually, Katasha, my job is safe because I'm an engineer, or I work for the government, or I've been at my job for 10 years already. And I'm sorry to break it to you, but no job is ever safe from an unexpected loss. Now, I can't really speak for other countries, but here in the United States, we live in a very uncertain economy, especially with globalization and rising automation and industry disruption from technology. It doesn't really matter how smart you are or how skilled you are or how safe you think your industry is, no one is ever exempt from an unexpected job loss. And if you, like me, are wholly dependent on one job, you are in a very precarious position. Now, I'm not saying all of this stuff to try and scare you all, but this is just the reality of the world that we live in, and you can either have a relatively pain-free ride with an emergency fund, or you could just roll the dice and see what happens. Don't do that. Reason number 2, an unexpected medical emergency. Things happen, accidents happen, and even though you have insurance, it might not cover your entire medical bill. This is where an emergency fund can step in. I had to do a root canal last year, and even though I had insurance, I had to pay $600 out of pocket just so I can get my crown. Luckily, I had an emergency fund, so I was able to take care of it, but if I didn't have that fund, I'm not really sure what I would have done. At the time, I had a debt management plan, so I wasn't even allowed to have a credit card. Who knows? Maybe I would have asked my family, or maybe I would have asked my friend to help spot me. But knowing my history, I probably would have left it alone untreated. And I know a lot of people that let their health problems and their dental problems just fester because they simply don't have the money to pay for it. Do not be like them. Get an emergency fund. Reason number 3, an unexpected housing emergency. Now, this definitely applies if you own your own home, but even if you rent, a housing emergency can still happen. If you have a roommate, your roommate can just dip and leave you with the responsibility of paying the rent. I have seen this happen. And even if you don't have a roommate, I once lived in an apartment where the landlord gave me 60 days to leave because they were going to demolish the entire building and make room for a new high-rise apartment. It was totally unexpected, and I not only had to find money just for the physical cost of moving my stuff, but I also had to pay for a security deposit for my next apartment. If I had an emergency fund, believe me, the entire process would have been a lot easier and a lot less stressful. But if you own your own home, this applies to you even more so. Houses will always need repairs, and you will be a lot better equipped to deal with them if you have an emergency fund on your side. Now, those were just the main reasons for me, and I didn't even get into car repairs or funerals or medical bills for your children and your pets. But the last point I want to cover with you is your own financial peace of mind. For me, living paycheck to paycheck sucks. It sucks. Because I only have one income, it's really easy for me to get stressed out about work, because if I lose my job, I'm screwed. And even though I only have a measly $1,000 in the bank, because I keep my expenses really low, if I were to suddenly lose my job, while it wouldn't be fun, I'd essentially be okay. And that knowledge and that confidence of knowing that I could survive a job loss is a difference between me being completely stressed out and me being overall chill about life. So if nothing else convinces you to build an emergency fund, just know that by putting your money away in a savings account, you are essentially buying peace of mind and a little bit of mental wellness. All right, so now that we've covered our reasons, let's go over a few tips on how to build your first emergency fund. First tip, your emergency fund should be at least 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. Now, if you are in debt right now, I totally understand that paying it off is your main priority right now, but you should have at least $1,000 saved up because emergencies still happen to people who are in debt. And it's really not in your best interest to go into even more debt. So 3 to 6 months is ideal, but if you are in debt, please save at least $1,000. Second, do not keep your emergency fund in a place that is easy to get to. So if you have one of those checking accounts that automatically comes with a savings account attached, that savings account is not the best place to put your emergency fund. It's just too easy to get to, and we are all human. So just go ahead and get a separate savings account for that emergency fund. Third, do not put your emergency fund in a place that is impossible to get to. So your 401k, that is not your emergency fund. A CD or a certificate of deposit, that is also not your emergency fund. And I'd even be a bit cautious about putting your emergency fund in a money market account because markets go up, but they also do go down. So if you really need that money, you just put yourself in a really uncomfortable position. Remember, this money is not your wealth, this money is your insurance. So please just put it in a regular savings account. And finally, know the difference between an emergency and a budget category. So Christmas, not an emergency. Birthdays, also not an emergency. These things happen every year. Prepare for them. So if you're taking out money to pay for little Kimmy's birthday, I will digitally slap you in the face because you should know better and you should have prepared ahead of time. This is what budgets are for. Prepare for these things ahead of time. If you like what you saw today, please do me a big favor and hit the like button below, or go ahead and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And until next time, I will see you next week. Bye!